between India, West Indies and South Africa was meant to be a great practice for all the three sides, keeping in mind the upcoming T20 World Cup. It was supposed to help them to fine-tune their preparations. So what are the highlights of this tri-series? What are the positives that each team can take from this tri-series? I'm here with the review of the tri-series in Mutual Funds here presents the Outside View powered by Elsta.
डायरेक्ट प्लान
म्यूचुअल फंड स्कीम्स में खुद इन्वेस्ट करने का एक ऑप्शन है.
म्यूचुअल फंड्स खुद ही
सी जैसे मैंने फिट रहने के लिए ट्रेनर रखा है.
ये तो दिखता ही है भाई.
पर तू तो सेल्फ मेड है भाई.
वेल देख, मुझे फिटनेस की नॉलेज है तो आई मेड माई ओन ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम.
और तेरे ट्रेनर के पैसे भी बच गए.
हाँ
सेम विद डायरेक्ट प्लान. यहाँ मेरे कमीशन के पैसे बच गए.
सही है.
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है. योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें.
So let's start with the big picture out there. South Africa, they lifted the trophy when they faced India in the finals of this tri-series. If you have to talk about the campaign of the hosts, then their bowlers did a very good job in this tournament. Shabnam Ismail, their prime pacer, wasn't available in the first three games in the series out there. But in her absence, we saw Masabata Class and Malaba do the job for the side, and they were really good when it came to their bowling, when it came to sticking to their lines and lengths, and the intent with which they bowled in this tri-series. A little bit of concern there for South Africa would be their top order batting. Now we saw that apart from the second game against the West Indies, South Africa's top order batters weren't able to give the team good starts or build some good partnerships out there. And keeping in mind the major event that's coming in the form of the T20 World Cup, that would be something that South Africa would be putting their thinking hats on for. Let's move on to India then, where India had a relatively good campaign in this tri-series. They lost the final against South Africa, where we saw that India's batting unit struggled. They couldn't put a very big competitive total on board for South Africa. But apart from that performance, India fought their way to victory against South Africa in the first game of the tri-series and then dominated the proceedings in both the games against the West Indies. And speaking of India's campaign there, you will have to mention there the dream debut of Amanjot Kaur. Now she received her maiden call-up for India in this tri-series, got an opportunity in the very first game. India was playing against the hosts. India's batting unit kind of struggled in the first game, and there it was, Amanjot Kaur playing her first game in the Indian Blues and taking the team to a very good position with her batting by finding those gaps comfortably, by showing great intent in her batting and also winning the player of the match on her debut. That would have been very, very special for Amanjot Kaur. And then against the West Indies, once again, we saw Smriti Mandhana and Harmanpreet Kaur building in a good partnership and taking India to a very comfortable position. Now Smriti Mandhana and Harmanpreet Kaur scoring big runs against West Indies, building a good partnership out there. We have seen this before. Well, yes, in the ODI World Cup, we saw both of them score centuries against West Indies, and that would have given Team India and Harmanpreet Kaur and Smriti Mandhana as well a little bit of confidence out there of scoring big runs. This definitely is a big positive for Smriti Mandhana, Harmanpreet Kaur and in turn for Team India. It was Shikha Pandey's return in this series. Pooja Vastrakar came in the last two games. Of course, the one game against South Africa was washed off there. So overall, you can say that it was a decent performance from Team India. Whatever they tried in this series, whatever worked for them, what didn't work for them, they would keep that in mind and go according to the plans in the T20 World Cup. Now let's talk about West Indies there. Now we always term West Indies as a surprise package, but in this series, their campaign was a little bit disappointing to them. Well, for West Indies, the batting woes continued in this series. No batter was able to provide enough resilience to the side, and even when some of them did, they did not get enough support from the other end. And that's the reason why we saw that West Indies weren't able to get to the finish line or score big runs in this series. And that's something that West Indies would want to change in the mega event that's in store for us, the T20 World Cup. Keeping in mind that, we also know that the skipper, we're talking about West Indies campaign, you will of course mention about one name there, and that's the skipper Hayley Matthews. And of course we're going to talk about her in our next segment, that's the star players of the series. Let's start with Hayley Matthews then, as we mentioned about her just now. Well, in the preview of this tri-series, we discussed that it will be very important for Hayley Matthews to perform well in this series. And that's what we saw in the series as well, because we know that Deandra Doughton has retired from international cricket. You do not have Stephanie Taylor around for this tri-series, and in that case, we know that it was important for Hayley Matthews to perform well for West Indies, and she was the lone warrior for the side in this tri-series. But she would want a little bit more support when it comes to the T20 World Cup that's in store for all of us. And apart from that, her performances with the bat, her cameos with the bat was important for West Indies, and she did not disappoint the side. Next up, let's talk about Deepti Sharma. Deepti Sharma coming to India's rescue. Well, this is a story that we have listened on so many occasions, and I'm quite sure that this is one story that we will never get bored of. She made a great impact with the ball in this series, was also awarded the player of the series, and that would have been such a confidence booster for Deepti Sharma. And you know that Deepti Sharma's contributions are always important when Team India takes the charge of the field, because coming in those crucial overs and giving the team the big breakthroughs is what Deepti Sharma is known for doing. And something like that she did in this series as well. And I'm quite sure the Indian fans would be hoping to see more of Deepti Sharma, more of her swag yet simplicity that she brings into the field in the coming World Cup as well. And now it's time to talk about a player from South African setup. Well, it's Chloe Tryon. As I mentioned before, that the bowlers did a very good job. There were good cameos with the bat as well for South Africa, from Laura Wilford, from Tasneem Prince as well. Well, for Chloe Tryon, the impact that she brought with her batting for South Africa is something that set her apart from the others. She played a very good knock against India in the first game, was someone who was fighting to pile runs for South Africa. And in the final against India as well, we saw that she was the difference. Chloe Tryon was the difference. If it was not for her, probably South Africa would have found it difficult to chase down that low total there. But Chloe Tryon coming in and anchoring the innings for South Africa, we know that she has the abilities to play those big shots as well, but she can have that flexibility of adapting her game as per the asks of the situations, and that's what Chloe Tryon did in this series once again, showing the team that she has a lot of experience under her sleeves, and when the time comes, she's going to use her experience, because it's something that you cannot buy from a supermarket. So all in all, looking back at the series, the three teams know that probably what works for them, what doesn't work for them. It proved as a good dress rehearsal for all the three teams. And keeping in mind the important event, the T20 World Cup that's just around the corner, all the three teams would be thinking to get those preparations done, to learn from this series and then work on the mistakes out there. So we will see all the three teams and the other teams as well in action in the upcoming T20 World Cup. We kept you updated about everything in this series. We're going to keep you updated about the upcoming T20 World Cup as well, with our previews, reviews, our interviews. But for that, you will have to stay tuned to Women's Cricket Zone and to Mutual Fund Sahiye presents The Outside View, powered by Elista.
स्मार्ट हो रहा है इंडिया, जैसे इंडिया में बना एलिस्टा स्मार्ट एलईडी टीवी with world class clarity and amazing features.